I first noticed it as a small charge on my card, the kind you might ignore if life is busy, but then it happened again. And again. Hotel payments. Always for a double room, always on days when I was at work or at home, nowhere near any hotel. My name is Eli Mercer, and I've been managing construction projects for 15 years. I know how to read patterns, spot problems before they become disasters. The same instincts that keep buildings from falling down were screaming at me about these charges. At first I thought it was fraud. Credit card theft happens all the time. But then I saw the pattern. Wednesdays and Fridays, like an appointment, like someone's schedule, like my wife Vanessa's schedule. Vanessa works as a legal assistant at Morrison & Associates, a high-profile firm downtown. She's always been ambitious, always talking about networking events and client meetings. When I asked about the charges, she had answers ready. "Oh, that's for client drinks," she'd say, not looking up from her phone. "Sometimes we need neutral ground for sensitive cases." "A hotel room for drinks?" I pressed. "The bar downstairs, obviously. But you have to book a room to access the VIP lounge. It's complicated, Eli. You wouldn't understand the legal world." That stung, but it was classic Vanessa. She'd been making comments like that for months. Little digs about how I was just a construction guy while she worked with lawyers and important people. The woman who used to brag about my work, who called me her strong, smart man, now acted embarrassed when people asked what I did. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. We'd been married 8 years, together for 10. We'd built a life in our little house in Medford, just outside Boston. I'd renovated the basement into a home office where I planned projects, and she studied for her paralegal certification. We had plans. Or I thought we did. But the charges kept coming. Always the same hotels. Always the same amounts. And Vanessa started working late more often, coming home smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. I was in the basement reviewing blueprints for a new office complex when I heard Vanessa on the phone upstairs. Her voice carried through the heating vents, and she was laughing in a way I hadn't heard in months. I know, she was saying. "He's so clueless. Just sits down there with his little drawings thinking he's so important." My pencil stopped moving across the blueprint. "No, he hasn't figured it out. He asked about the hotel charges, but I told him it was work stuff. He actually believed it. God, sometimes I wonder what I ever saw in him." More laughter. Cruel laughter. "Connor, you're terrible, but you're right. Maybe it's time to stop pretending this marriage means anything." Connor. I knew that name. Connor Ramsey, a real estate developer who'd been at our barbecue last summer. Tall guy with perfect teeth and a Tesla, always talking about his latest projects. His wife Tessa had seemed nice, quiet, but sharp when she spoke. I sat there in my basement office, surrounded by the blueprints for buildings that would last decades, and realized my marriage was already rubble. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Marty, my foreman, didn't ask questions. He'd known me long enough to hear something in my voice. I drove to one of the hotels with my banking app open and told the front desk there had to be a mistake. I said I hadn't stayed there, and I wanted to know why my card was being used. The receptionist, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, didn't look surprised. She'd probably seen this exact scenario before. "Let me check the booking," she said, typing on her computer. "Okay, so your card was used by Vanessa Mercer. She's been coming in with a gentleman, not you. They check in around 2 p.m., usually leave by 5. Very regular customers." My stomach dropped, but my voice stayed steady. "Can you tell me anything about the man? For the report, I mean?" She glanced around, then leaned closer. "Look, I'm not supposed to share details, but you seem like a decent guy. His name is Connor Ramsey. Drives a white Tesla. Tips well. They're not exactly hiding what they're doing, if you know what I mean." I thanked her and walked back to my truck on unsteady legs. 8 years of marriage, and my wife was cheating with Connor Ramsey like it was a part-time job. Wednesdays and Fridays, 2 to 5. Probably the same schedule they'd been keeping for months. That night, Vanessa came home with Chinese takeout and a story about a difficult client meeting. "How was your day?" she asked, setting containers on the kitchen table. "Interesting," I said. "Learned some new things." She didn't even look at me. "That's nice, honey." I watched her serve herself lo mein, and wondered when she'd stopped being the woman I married. When had her ambition turned into contempt? When had I become someone to laugh about on phone calls with her lover? But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I'd learned something else from 15 years in construction. Before you tear down a building, you better have a plan for what comes next. That night, I stared at the ceiling until 3 a.m., running scenarios in my head like I was planning a complex build. Every construction project has stakeholders, people whose lives get affected by the work. This situation had stakeholders too. Connor Ramsey was married to Tessa. If Vanessa was destroying my life, Connor was doing the same to hers. Maybe it was time the injured parties compared notes. I found Tessa's number in my phone from the barbecue contact exchange. At 7 a.m., I sent her a text that took me 20 minutes to write and rewrite. Hi, Tessa. This is Eli Mercer, Vanessa's husband. I hope you're well. I have something important to discuss with you about our spouses. Could we meet for coffee sometime today? It's urgent. She responded within 10 minutes. Is this about what I think it's about? Hotel charges on my credit card. Wednesdays and Fridays. Connor's name on the bookings. Jesus. Yes, let's meet. Starbucks on Mass Ave. Noon? I got there early and chose a corner table where we could talk privately. Tessa arrived exactly at noon, looking like she hadn't slept much either. She was prettier than I'd remembered from the barbecue, with auburn hair and intelligent green eyes that looked tired and angry. So, she said, sitting down with a large coffee, how long have you known? Figured it out yesterday. You? I've suspected for 2 months. Connor's been working late, taking mysterious phone calls, buying new clothes, classic midlife crisis behavior, except he's 40 and should know better. She pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of credit card statements. Look familiar? Same hotels, same amounts. Different days. Connor was paying for Tuesdays and Thursdays while my card got hit for Wednesdays and Fridays. They were splitting the adultery like a timeshare. They're not even being careful, Tessa said bitterly. It's like they want to get caught. Or they think we're too stupid to figure it out. Are you going to confront them? I thought about Vanessa's phone call, her laughter about my little drawings, and how clueless I was. I want to catch them in the act first, get proof. Good thinking. Connor will just deny everything otherwise. He's a lawyer's worst nightmare, smooth talker who believes his own lies. We spent the next hour comparing notes. Connor had been distant for months, critical of Tessa's work as a fashion buyer, making comments about wanting more excitement in his life. Vanessa had been doing the same thing to me, acting like my construction work was beneath her new social circle. They deserve each other, Tessa said finally. The question is, what do we do about it? I have an idea, but I'll need your help. The next Friday, I tracked Vanessa using Find My Phone, a feature she'd forgotten was active on our shared Apple account. She was at the Marriott downtown, same place as always. I texted Tessa the location and room number. Ready for this? She texted back. Let's go catch some cheaters. We met in the hotel lobby and took the elevator to the 4th floor in silence. The hallway was empty, just the sound of our footsteps on expensive carpet. Room 412 was at the end, and I could hear voices inside. Laughter. The same cruel laughter I'd heard through the heating vents. I knocked on the door. The voices stopped. Footsteps. The security chain rattled. Room service, I said in a fake accent. More whispering. Then Connor's voice. We didn't order anything. Complimentary champagne for Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey. That did it. The door opened, and Connor stood there in a hotel bathrobe, hair messed up, looking confused. Behind him, I could see Vanessa sitting on the bed in a black bra, scrambling for a sheet. Surprise, I said. Connor's face went through several expressions. Confusion, recognition, fear, then something ugly. What the hell are you doing here? Checking on my investment. See, my credit card's been paying for this room, and I wanted to make sure I was getting my money's worth. Tessa stepped out from behind me, phone already up and recording. Hi, honey. Don't mind me, just documenting this for our lawyer. The silence that followed was beautiful. Pure, crystalline shock. Then Connor started laughing. Oh, this is Rich, he said, opening the door wider. The construction worker and the fashion buyer playing detective? What are you going to do, Eli? Beat me up? Sue me? You think you can afford the lawyers I can afford? Vanessa wrapped the sheet around herself and joined him at the door. This is pathetic, Eli. Following me around like some jealous teenager. Connor's right. What are you going to do about it? They were both smiling now, like this was all a joke, like catching them in bed together was just an amusing interruption to their afternoon. I mean, seriously, Vanessa continued. You think this changes anything? I've been planning to leave you anyway. Connor and I are in love. We're going to build something real together, not just whatever this has been. She's right, Connor said, putting his arm around Vanessa. We're both successful people with actual futures. You two are just obstacles we've been working around. Tessa kept recording, her face stone calm. Keep talking, Connor. This is exactly what I needed. But Connor was on a roll now, high on adrenaline and arrogance. You want to know the truth? We've been planning this for months. Vanessa's going to file for divorce and take half of everything you have, Eli. Your house, your savings, your precious little construction business. And Tessa, sweetheart, good luck proving anything. I've got the best lawyers in Boston on retainer. He leaned against the door frame like he owned the world. So, I'll ask again. What are you going to do about it? I looked at him standing there in his hotel bathrobe, smirking like he'd just won the lottery. I looked at Vanessa, the woman I'd loved for 10 years, smiling like my pain was entertainment. And I smiled back. You really want to know? Sure, Connor said. Enlighten us. I pulled out my phone and showed them a screenshot. Well, first I'm going to send these photos to your boss, Vanessa. Morrison and Associates has a pretty strict policy about employees using company time for personal activities, especially when those activities involve hotel rooms and married clients. Vanessa's smile faltered. You wouldn't. Already did. Check your email. Her face went white as she grabbed her phone. And Connor, I continued, I'm going to send a copy to the Massachusetts Real Estate Board, something about ethics violations and conduct unbecoming a licensed professional. Tessa, didn't you say Connor's been using client properties for some of these meetings? The penthouse on Beacon Hill, Tessa confirmed, still recording. 3 times last month. Now Connor wasn't smiling either. But mostly, I said, stepping closer, I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who you both are. Your friends, your colleagues, your families. I'm going to tell them the truth about how you treated your spouses, how you laughed about it, how you planned to destroy our lives for fun. You can't prove anything, Vanessa said, but her voice was shaking. Tessa held up her phone. Actually, we can prove everything. Thanks for the confession, by the way. Really saves us time in court. I turned to leave, then looked back at them one more time. They were still standing in the doorway, but the smugness was gone. Now they just looked like what they were. 2 people who'd been caught doing something ugly and were just starting to realize the consequences. Oh, and Connor, I said, you asked what I was going to do about it. That was just the beginning. The next week was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. Vanessa came home Monday night with red eyes and a termination letter from Morrison and Associates. Apparently, using company time and resources to conduct an affair with a client violated several clauses in her employment contract. You destroyed my career, she said, throwing the letter at me across the kitchen table. I didn't destroy anything, I replied, not looking up from my dinner. I just documented what you were already doing. Those photos were taken without my consent. That's invasion of privacy. In a hotel room you paid for with my credit card, while conducting an affair. Good luck finding a lawyer who'll take that case. She stormed upstairs, and I heard her on the phone with Connor, their voices carrying through the thin walls. The conversation didn't sound friendly. Apparently Connor's real estate license was under review, and his wife had filed for divorce with enough evidence to ensure she'd get everything. This is all your fault, Vanessa was saying. You said they'd never figure it out. You said they were too stupid. Connor's response was loud enough for me to hear. Maybe if you'd been more careful with your credit card statements. The fairy tale romance was already souring under pressure. Tuesday morning, I got a call from my cousin Ricky, who works in IT security. Dude, you need to check your credit report, like right now. Why? Just do it and call me back. 20 minutes later, I was staring at my laptop screen in disbelief. Someone had applied for a second mortgage on our house, for $200,000, using my forged signature. The application had been submitted 3 weeks ago, right around the time Vanessa started talking about new opportunities and making big changes. She'd been planning to clean me out and disappear with Connor, leaving me holding a massive debt. I called Ricky back. Can you prove the signature was forged? Already on it. I've got software that can analyze handwriting patterns. Plus, the IP address for the online application traces back to Connor's office. They weren't just stupid, they were criminally stupid. What do I do? Call the bank, report the fraud, and get a lawyer, like today. The bank was surprisingly helpful once I explained the situation and provided evidence of the forgery. They froze the mortgage application and flagged both accounts for investigation. The loan officer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chen, seemed personally offended by the attempted fraud. We see this sometimes in divorce cases, she said. One spouse tries to liquidate assets before the other realizes what's happening. But forging signatures is serious business. We'll need to report this to the authorities. What happens to my house? Nothing, as long as you can prove you didn't authorize the application, which based on this evidence shouldn't be hard. That evening, Vanessa came home with Connor. They'd been drinking, and their mood was ugly. I was in the living room watching the news when they stumbled in, loud and aggressive. We need to talk, Connor announced like he owned the place. You need to leave, I replied. This is my house. Actually, it's about to be our house, Vanessa said, swaying slightly. See, we took out a little loan. $200,000 should be enough to start our new life. I turned off the TV and looked at them. You mean the loan application that got rejected for fraud? That loan? The change in their expressions was immediate. Vanessa went pale, and Connor's drunken confidence evaporated. What are you talking about? Connor demanded. I'm talking about the forged signature, the IP address from your office, and the criminal investigation that's already underway. Did you really think you could steal $200,000 and nobody would notice? Vanessa sank onto the couch. That's impossible. We were careful. No, you were greedy and stupid. And now you're criminals. Connor stepped toward me, his face red with anger and alcohol. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you've won something? I think I've stopped you from stealing my house. Your house? He laughed, but it sounded forced. What house? This little suburban box? Vanessa deserves better than this. She deserves better than you. Then she should have divorced me before trying to rob me. Maybe we still will rob you, Connor said, moving closer. Maybe we'll take everything you have, and there's nothing you can do about it. I stood up slowly. Connor was taller than me, but I'd spent 15 years doing physical labor. He'd spent 15 years sitting behind a desk. You want to try that? I asked quietly. For a moment, I thought he might actually take a swing at me. His fists were clenched, his face was flushed, and he had the liquid courage of someone who'd been drinking all afternoon. Then Vanessa grabbed his arm. Connor, don't. Let's just go. No, he said, shaking her off. I'm tired of this guy acting like he's better than us. You want to know what your wife really thinks of you, Eli? She thinks you're pathetic. She thinks you're boring. She thinks... I hit him. Not hard, just a quick jab to the solar plexus that doubled him over and cut off his words. He staggered backward, gasping for air. Get out, I said. Both of you, now. Vanessa helped Connor to the door, both of them shooting me looks that promised this wasn't over. After they left, I sat back down and turned the TV back on, but I couldn't concentrate on the news. My phone buzzed with a text from Tessa. How are you holding up? Could be better. You? Same. Want to grab a drink? I could use some friendly company. An hour later, we were sitting in O'Malley's, a dive bar near my work site. Tessa looked exhausted but determined, like someone who'd been through hell and decided to keep walking. Connor hired a private investigator, she said over her beer. Apparently he's going to prove we conspired against them. With what evidence? Our text messages, the fact that we met for coffee, the hotel confrontation. He's claiming we stalked them and violated their privacy. I almost laughed. The privacy of their hotel room that they paid for with our money? Logic isn't Connor's strong suit right now. He's desperate. His license review isn't going well, and his business partners are asking questions about the ethics investigation. What about the divorce? Filed yesterday. I'm asking for everything. The house, the cars, his business assets, everything. My lawyer says the adultery evidence is so strong that Connor won't have much choice but to settle. Good. We drank in silence for a while, watching the Red Sox lose to the Yankees on the bar's old TV. The place was nearly empty, just a few construction workers and office drones unwinding after long days. Can I ask you something? Tessa said finally. Sure. Do you think we're doing the right thing? I mean, destroying their lives like this? I thought about Vanessa's laughter on the phone, her comments about my little drawings. I thought about Connor's smirk in the hotel doorway, his threats about taking everything I'd worked for. They destroyed their own lives, I said. We just documented it. I know, but sometimes I wonder if we should have just walked away, filed for divorce quietly, split everything 50-50, moved on. Would that have stopped them from forging my signature? Would that have gotten your husband to stop using client properties for his affair? Probably not. Then we're doing the right thing. My phone rang, Vanessa's number. Don't answer it, Tessa said. But I was curious. I hit accept and put it on speaker. Eli? Vanessa's voice was thick with tears. I need to come home. Connor threw me out. He says I'm bad for his image right now. Where are you? I'm at a motel on Route 1. It's horrible. There are cockroaches and the lock doesn't work properly, and I don't have anywhere else to go. What about your sister in New York? She won't return my calls. Nobody will. Connor told everyone that I'm unstable, that I've been stalking him. He's making me look like some crazy ex-girlfriend instead of what we had. Tessa rolled her eyes and made a jerking off motion with her hand. Vanessa, I said carefully, you committed fraud. You tried to steal $200,000 from me. Why would I let you come home? Because I'm your wife, she sobbed. Because we took vows, for better or worse, remember? You broke those vows when you started fucking Connor in hotel rooms twice a week. The line went quiet, except for her crying. Please, Eli, I made mistakes, but I can't live like this. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling, I'll get a new job, I'll sign a post-nup agreement. Just please don't abandon me. I looked at Tessa, who was shaking her head vigorously. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. You're not seriously considering taking her back, Tessa said. No, but I want her to think I might. Desperate people make more mistakes, and I have a feeling Vanessa's not done making mistakes yet. I was right, but I had no idea how big those mistakes were about to get. 3 days later, Vanessa showed up at my work site. I was reviewing blueprints with Marty when she appeared at the construction trailer door, looking like she hadn't slept in a week. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and she had the desperate look of someone whose world was falling apart. Eli, please, she said. I need to talk to you. Marty took one look at the situation and found somewhere else to be. He'd been my foreman for 8 years and had developed a sixth sense for domestic drama. What do you want, Vanessa? I want to come home. I want to fix this. By fix this, you mean what exactly? Unforge my signature? Unfuck Connor? Travel back in time and not destroy our marriage? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I know you're angry. You have every right to be angry. But Connor, he's not who I thought he was. When things got difficult, he just threw me away, like I was nothing. Funny how that works. I made a mistake, Eli. A huge mistake. But it doesn't have to end everything. We can start over. I set down my blueprints and really looked at her. This was the woman I'd loved for 10 years, the woman I'd planned to grow old with. 3 weeks ago, I would have done anything to hear her say these words. Now they just sounded pathetic. Vanessa, you didn't make a mistake. You made a series of calculated decisions over several months. You chose to have an affair. You chose to steal money from our joint account. You chose to forge my signature on a mortgage application. Those weren't mistakes. They were crimes. The mortgage thing was Connor's idea. He said it was just a loan, that we'd pay it back. With what money? You lost your job, remember? I can get another job. I'm smart. I'm qualified. You're unemployable. Morrison and Associates fired you for cause and reported the ethics violation to the state bar. Good luck finding another law firm that'll hire you. Her face crumpled. So that's it? You're just going to let them destroy me? They didn't destroy you, Vanessa. You destroyed yourself. She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the construction plans spread across my desk. Then she looked up with something like her old determination. Fine. If that's how you want to play it, then I'll fight. I'll get a lawyer and take you for everything you're worth. Adultery doesn't matter in Massachusetts. It's a no-fault divorce state. I'll get half of everything, including this business. What business? I'm an employee, not an owner. Your consulting work, your side projects, the rental property in Somerville. I stared at her. What rental property in Somerville? Don't play dumb, Eli. I know about the apartment building you bought with your cousin, the one you've been hiding from me. Vanessa, I don't own any rental property. I don't have any side consulting work. Where did you get that idea? Connor showed me the records. He did a property search and found... She stopped, her face going pale. Connor showed you fake records, I said slowly. He made you think I had hidden assets so you'd be more motivated to steal from me. That's not possible. Isn't it? Think about it. Connor's a real estate developer with access to property databases. How hard would it be for him to create fake documents showing I owned property I don't actually own? I could see her working through it, realizing how thoroughly she'd been played. He told me you were hiding money, she whispered. He said you were planning to divorce me and leave me with nothing. He said the mortgage was just evening the playing field. And you believed him instead of talking to me. Yes. Because you wanted to believe him. Because it justified what you were already doing. She started crying then, big ugly sobs that shook her whole body. I'm so sorry, Eli. I'm so fucking sorry. I ruined everything for a man who was using me. I threw away 10 years for someone who never cared about me at all. I felt something then. Not forgiveness, but pity. Vanessa had always been ambitious, always wanted more than what we had. Connor had exploited that ambition, fed her lies about my supposed hidden assets, convinced her that stealing from me was really just claiming what she deserved. It didn't excuse what she'd done, but it explained it. Where is Connor now? I asked. I don't know. He won't return my calls. His office says he's taking a leave of absence pending the ethics investigation. Tessa's lawyer served him with divorce papers, and he just disappeared. My phone buzzed with a text from Tessa. Emergency. Can you meet me at O'Malley's? Connor's done something crazy. I showed Vanessa the message. Looks like we're about to find out where he went. 20 minutes later, Tessa was sliding into the booth across from us, her face grim. She looked surprised to see Vanessa but didn't comment. Connor cleaned out our joint accounts, she said without preamble. $200,000 gone? When? This morning. He also took out a cash advance on every credit card we had. Another $50,000. My lawyer says he's probably planning to disappear. Vanessa looked sick. He can't just leave. What about the ethics investigation? What about his business? What business? Tessa laughed bitterly. I found out today that Connor's been running a Ponzi scheme for the last 2 years. He's been using new investor money to pay returns to old investors. The whole thing's about to collapse. Jesus, I said. How much money? Best guess? About $2 million. Maybe more. The three of us sat in silence, processing this information. Connor hadn't just been cheating on his wife and stealing from me. He'd been running a massive fraud operation that was about to destroy dozens of people. There's more, Tessa continued. The FBI raided his office this afternoon. They're calling it a federal investigation into securities fraud and money laundering. The FBI? Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. Full tactical team, according to the news. They seized all his computers, all his files, everything. Connor's not just facing divorce and ethics violations anymore. He's facing federal prison time. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Eli? It's Connor. His voice was strained, desperate. I need your help. I put the phone on speaker. Where are you? I can't tell you that, but I need you to do something for me. I need you to call off your wife. Call her off from what? She's been calling the FBI, telling them about the mortgage fraud, about our affair, about everything. She's making me look guilty. I looked at Vanessa, who was shaking her head frantically. She hadn't called the FBI about anything. Connor, I said carefully, the FBI doesn't care about your affair. They care about the $2 million you stole from investors. That's not what happened. It was just bad investments, market timing. I was going to pay everyone back. With what money? The money you stole from your wife? The money you tried to steal from me? I never stole anything from you. The forged mortgage application says otherwise. The line went quiet for a long moment. Look, Connor said finally, I made some mistakes, but I can fix this. I just need time, and I need Vanessa to stop talking to the FBI. I haven't talked to the FBI, Vanessa said loudly enough for him to hear. Vanessa, you're there too? Perfect. Listen to me, both of you. If this investigation goes forward, we're all going down. They're going to find out about the hotel payments, the joint planning, everything. They'll say you were both in on it. In on what? I asked. The investment scheme. Vanessa knew about it. I told her everything. I showed her the books, explained how it worked. If the FBI finds out she was involved... I wasn't involved, Vanessa shouted. I didn't know anything about any investment scheme. You signed the documents, Vanessa. You were there when I explained the business model. You helped me recruit new investors at the country club events. Tessa and I looked at Vanessa, who had gone completely white. I thought those were legitimate real estate investments, she said slowly. You said you were developing properties, that you needed capital for construction loans. The FBI won't see it that way, Connor said. They'll see a conspiracy, a husband-wife team working together to defraud investors. Eli, you need to get her a lawyer, a good one, and you need to make sure she understands that cooperating with the investigation is not in her best interests. You son of a bitch, I said. You're trying to frame her. I'm trying to save her. If she talks to the FBI, they'll arrest her as a co-conspirator. If she keeps quiet, maybe we can all get through this. And what about you? Where will you be while we're dealing with the FBI? I'll be somewhere they can't find me, at least until I can figure out how to pay back the investors. With what money, Connor? You're broke. Your business is fake. Your assets are frozen, and your wife is taking everything else in the divorce. I'll figure something out. I always do. The line went dead. Tessa, Vanessa, and I sat in the bar booth, staring at my phone like it might explode. He's going to disappear, Tessa said finally. Leave everyone else to deal with the mess he created. What do I do? Vanessa asked. If the FBI thinks I was involved in his investment scheme, you get a lawyer, I said. A criminal defense lawyer. Today. I can't afford a criminal defense lawyer. I don't have a job, remember? I looked at her. My wife of 8 years. The woman who'd betrayed me and tried to steal from me, now facing federal charges because she'd been stupid enough to trust Connor Ramsey. I'll pay for it, I said. Why? Because you're still my wife, and because Connor's not going to destroy your life just to save his own. Vanessa started crying again, but these tears were different. Not self-pity, but relief. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet, I said. We still have to figure out how to prove you weren't part of his scheme. Actually, Tessa said slowly, I might be able to help with that. We both looked at her. I've been recording Connor's phone calls for the last 2 weeks. Everything, including several conversations where he talks about manipulating Vanessa, about using her to get to Eli's assets, about keeping her in the dark about the real nature of his business. You recorded him without his consent? Massachusetts is a 2-party consent state for recording, but there are exceptions for criminal activity. My lawyer says the recordings will be admissible if they show evidence of fraud or conspiracy. And they do? Oh, they definitely do. Connor's been very chatty about his plans to frame both of you if the investigation gets too close to him. I felt something shift in my chest. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't just reacting to Connor and Vanessa's betrayal. I was getting ahead of it. Tessa, I said, how would you feel about helping us destroy Connor Ramsey? She smiled for the first time since I'd known her. I thought you'd never ask. The next morning, I called in sick to work again and met Tessa and Vanessa at a downtown law office. Tessa's divorce attorney had recommended a criminal defense lawyer named Rebecca Martinez, who specialized in white-collar crime and federal investigations. Martinez was a small, intense woman with sharp eyes and an expensive suit. She listened to our story without interruption, taking notes on a legal pad and occasionally asking for clarification. So, let me make sure I understand, she said when we finished. Mr. Ramsey conducted an affair with your wife, Mr. Mercer, while simultaneously running a Ponzi scheme that defrauded investors of approximately $2 million. He forged your signature on a mortgage application, convinced your wife to participate in what she believed were legitimate real estate investments, and is now attempting to frame her as a co-conspirator while he flees the country. That's about the size of it, I said, and Mrs. Ramsey has recordings of him discussing these plans. Hours of recordings, Tessa confirmed. Martinez turned to Vanessa. Mrs. Mercer, I need you to understand something. The FBI doesn't care about your marriage or your affair. They care about the money. If they believe you knowingly participated in Mr. Ramsey's investment scheme, they will prosecute you for securities fraud and conspiracy. That's 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Vanessa went pale. But I didn't know. I thought it was legitimate. What you thought doesn't matter. What you can prove matters. The question is whether we can demonstrate that Mr. Ramsey deliberately misled you about the nature of his business. The recordings will help, Tessa said. Connor talks about keeping Vanessa compartmentalized from the financial details. He specifically mentions not wanting her to understand how the money really flowed. Good. What else do we have? I pulled out my phone and showed Martinez the screenshots of Connor's fake property records. He created false documents to convince Vanessa that I was hiding assets. He used those documents to justify the mortgage fraud. Martinez studied the images. These are sophisticated forgeries. Creating fake legal documents is a federal crime in itself. Mr. Ramsey's in more trouble than he realizes. So what's our play? I asked. We go to the FBI first. We offer full cooperation in exchange for immunity for Mrs. Mercer. We provide the recordings, the forged documents, and a complete timeline of Mr. Ramsey's deception. We make it clear that your wife was a victim, not a perpetrator. Will they believe us? They'll believe the evidence. And right now, we have more evidence against Connor Ramsey than the FBI does. 2 hours later, we were sitting in a federal building downtown, talking to FBI Special Agent Sarah Kim. Kim was younger than I'd expected, probably early 30s, with the kind of focused intensity that suggested she was very good at her job. Mr. Ramsey's been on our radar for 6 months, she said after reviewing our materials. We've been building a case against his investment operation, but we didn't know about the mortgage fraud or the fake documents. So Vanessa's information is useful? I asked. Very useful. Mrs. Mercer, these recordings are exactly what we need to establish Mr. Ramsey's intent to defraud. The fact that he explicitly discusses manipulating you shows a pattern of deception that goes beyond the investment scheme. Does that mean I'm not in trouble? It means we're prepared to offer you full immunity in exchange for your cooperation. You'll need to testify before a grand jury and potentially at trial, but you won't face any charges. Vanessa sagged with relief. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still need to find Mr. Ramsey. He's been off the grid for 48 hours, and we have reason to believe he's planning to leave the country. Any idea where he might go? Tessa asked. He has business contacts in the Cayman Islands and Costa Rica, both non-extradition countries if he can establish residency. But he needs money to disappear permanently, and we've frozen all his known accounts. What about the cash he took from Tessa's accounts? $250,000 cash. Enough to live on for a while, but not enough to disappear forever. He'll need to access more funds, and when he does, we'll find him. Agent Kim's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Interesting. Mr. Ramsey just used a credit card at Logan Airport. Looks like he's not as smart as he thinks he is. You're going to arrest him? We're going to try, but airport arrests are complicated, especially if he's already through security. My phone rang. Connor again. Agent Kim nodded for me to answer it, then gestured to someone off to the side. They were tracing the call. Hello, Connor. Eli, thank God. I need your help. Where are you? I'm at the airport. I'm trying to leave the country, but there's a problem. The FBI has frozen all my accounts, and I don't have enough cash for the ticket I need. I looked at Agent Kim, who was making frantic gestures for me to keep him talking. What do you want from me? I need you to wire me money. $50,000. I know you have it. I've seen your bank statements. You've seen my bank statements? Vanessa showed them to me. Look, I know we've had our differences, but I'm desperate here. If the FBI catches me, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. Maybe you should have thought of that before you started stealing from people. I never meant for it to go this far. The investment thing just got out of hand. I was trying to fix it, but the market turned and I couldn't pay people back fast enough. It snowballed. Agent Kim was writing on a piece of paper. Keep him talking. We're triangulating his location. Connor, you stole $2 million. You can't fix that by running away to Costa Rica. I can if I have enough seed money to start over. $50,000, Eli. That's nothing to you, but it's everything to me. And why would I give you $50,000? Confrontation and justice. Because if you don't, Connor hissed, I'll tell the FBI you and Vanessa were in on the investment scheme. I've got emails, documents, recordings. I can make you look like the mastermind. Cold anger surged. You're threatening me. I'm offering a deal. 50 grand and I disappear. Vanessa gets immunity, you keep your reputation. Except the investors you stole from. Not your problem. Agent Kim held up a sign. Got him. Terminal C, Gate 23. Keep talking. Connor, I said, my counteroffer. Go fuck yourself. I hung up. Did you get him? Tactical team moving now. The radio crackled. Suspect down, in custody. Connor faced securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. He got 15 years. Vanessa testified with immunity. Tessa's recordings sealed his fate. Jury convicted in hours. Tessa's divorce finalized. She kept everything. Vanessa and I split assets amicably, sold the house. I started a construction firm with Marty. Business thrived. Vanessa moved to Ohio. Tessa and I stayed friends, rebuilt our lives. No regrets, I told her over drinks. They chose betrayal, we chose consequences.